Well, a mystery remains tonight. After the votes were counted in Michigan's primary election, we know who won, we know who lost, we know who came close to winning, and we know who won the most votes ever cast in a primary election in the state of Michigan. But something else happened in Michigan yesterday and last night, and it might turn out to be the most important thing that happened in yesterday's election in Michigan. And we know next to nothing about it. That mystery could explode in our faces on election night in November. The mystery might then be revealed as a key piece of Donald Trump's possible plan to steal the election in Michigan in November to prevent the Democrats from winning control of the United States Senate. The mystery centers on people who were on the ground in Michigan yesterday visiting polling places. Their names remain secret. Their job titles remain secret. They were sent there by Donald Trump and Donald Trump's acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he will do anything, absolutely anything for Donald Trump. In a written statement, the Todd Blanche Justice Department said the Trump federal officials were, quote, monitoring polls. That's what they said, monitoring polls in 4 Michigan cities, including Detroit. The statement identified those people only as, quote, DOJ staff from the Civil Rights Division's voting section and Michigan's U.S. Attorney's offices. What were they really doing there? We don't know. What were they seen doing there? MS Now reports that the city clerk in Lansing, Michigan, said that his office has seen several teams of DOJ election monitors in plain clothes visiting about 2/3 of the city's precincts, one team of 2 people, another team made up of 3 people. The clerk said that the federal officials, quote, mostly stayed outside the precincts, watching from public areas. In a few cases, they have spoken to the chair of the precinct. The clerk was not sure what they were looking for. He says they were not able to identify who these monitors are, just that they were in regular clothes. Okay, so what were they doing? Was this Todd Blanche just placating Donald Trump and sending federal officials to polling places in Michigan so that Todd Blanche could tell Donald Trump that they did that he did something? Was it nothing? Or was it some kind of scouting mission for November, some kind of rehearsal for some of the actions Donald Trump might order them to take in November on election night? If they were considering seizing ballots in Michigan on election night in November, wouldn't they want to get a look at the place where they'd be trying to seize those ballots? Were they casing the joint, as bank robbers used to say? There is a very strong chance that they were doing absolutely nothing. There's a very, very strong chance that the way they did nothing is an indication of the way they will do nothing in November. But there is at least as strong a chance that Donald Trump is plotting to do something criminal on election night in Michigan and elsewhere. There is at least as strong a chance that the mystery of what they were doing last night might finally make sense in the worst possible sudden way on election night in November. The person whose job it is to preserve and protect the integrity of Michigan elections was the biggest vote winner in last night's primary. And she is our first guest tonight. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson won a record 1,245,010 votes, 83% of the vote, and is now the Democratic nominee for governor in Michigan. Jocelyn Benson has been dealing with Trump threats to Michigan elections for 6 years now. No one has more experience in fighting Donald Trump's lies and threats about elections in Michigan. 6 years ago in December, a month after Joe Biden won the presidential election, Donald Trump was still trying to change the outcome of the election in Michigan, where Joe Biden won by 150,000 votes, which, as we saw today, is not a close result in Michigan. When Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016, he won by only 10,000 votes. And no one tried to attack the Secretary of State of Michigan to overturn that election. But that is what happened to Jocelyn Benson when she was decorating her Christmas tree with her then 4-year-old son. Trump supporters screaming, "Stop the steal," and brandishing their guns, brandishing their firearms, stood outside of her house trying to terrorize everyone in her house, including her 4-year-old son. Jocelyn Benson joined us on this program after that Trump-inspired attack on her home. I just want to know what it was like for you in your house on Saturday with your 4-year-old son decorating a Christmas tree, a scene we all know well. We've lived through as 4-year-olds ourselves, some of us as parents ourselves, and to have that scene out in front of your house.
Well, thanks for having me, and certainly it was a unique time and typically a very peaceful time. And for that reason, as we're putting our young son to bed, it's important to maintain that peace around him and the serenity and the calm. And so as noise may have escalated outside, the goal was simply to enable him to feel safe and secure, and as he very much did at that moment. And so we, made sure that he was able to watch his favorite show, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. He got to stay up a little bit later doing that. I think he enjoyed that. So that was maintained, and of course, at the same time, working with law enforcement to protect everyone in our house. And that was of prime importance for everyone.
And so the protector of the vote in Michigan had to be protected, because she was protecting the vote from Donald Trump's attack on democracy in Michigan and democracy in the United States of America. Jocelyn Benson will be on the job as Secretary of State in November, when she will also possibly be giving a victory speech in her campaign for governor. Here's what she said in her victory speech last night.
Oh no, I'll work with anyone and everyone to get that done, but I'm also unafraid to stand up to anyone who gets in our way. And this moment demands leaders who will stand up with courage, unafraid to bullies. And boy, boy, do I know how to do that. Like when Donald Trump tried to pressure me into turning over your private voting information, I said no, and I'll see you in court. And I won.
The Senate election in Michigan last night defied the polls and was won by less than 1% of the vote. Here is what the winner, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, said last night before he knew who was going to win.
All right, y'all. Look, I wish I could tell you that I was declaring victory right about now. Turns out it takes a long time to count some votes in Michigan. However much we might disagree with our Democratic opponent, there is so much more that unites us than divides us. And so to all of our supporters here tonight, watching on TV, tomorrow we begin to mend fences. Whatever happens tonight, we have a responsibility to assure that we unite to make sure that Mike Rogers never sees the inside of the U.S. Senate.
And here is what he said today in what was finally a victory speech.
The only way that they think they can win is to drag us into the mud, to believe the worst about each other, to believe that what divides us is bigger than what unites us. They want us to think that the reason some of us ain't got is because of other people got. But it turns out that the reason so many of us ain't got is because of the system that has corrupted our politics to take it away from us. And that is the thing that we are taking on now.